Have you ever thought about raising the minimum wage? Raising the minimum wage would do more harm than good, and here's why. A $15 minimum wage is a horrible idea because high school minimum wage jobs would increase high school dropout rates. It would inflate prices a ton, and it is also really close to the starting wage for some college graduates. These are just some of the few problems with it. I have completed a number of projects involving extensive research about the minimum wage and why it is a good decision. One of the biggest growing problems with our youth today is the rate of high school dropouts. Whether it be because of a pregnancy, unmotivated learners, or other reasons, it is a big growing problem. Raising the minimum wage would encourage students to drop out and make a decent living without any schooling or diplomas, according to thebalancedcareers.com. Some would see no reasoning in going to school for a diploma or degree. This is the opposite as it is with the minimum wage currently. Currently, students struggle for money in a bit in high school, but it is an important time for them to realize the value of their education. Students need time to learn the value of their education during this time as a minimum wage employee. Without this struggle, their education can easily become meaningless to them. With the idea in mind of making a decent living, it is important to talk about the inflated prices as well. Raising the minimum wage would inflate prices a ton. All products require labor from employees to get it out to the customer. For example, if the labor cost goes up at McDonald's to produce and sell their food, they will have to raise their prices for customers to ensure the same profit. The young workers will be making a lot of money at potentially their first job, but all of the customers will have to pay for it. With high labor costs in mind, employers will more rapidly outsource technology to replace as many jobs as possible. This means that in return, we will see many employees being laid off and eventually replaced, according to Toggle.com. It will be much harder to find a job, and the companies will have a slower hiring rate. It will be much taking in account of all these unseen factors. It is important to see just how negative the effect of raising the minimum wage will be. Another unseen factor with the price inflation associated with higher minimum wage is taxes. According to USAtoday.com, the average American pays about $10,489 per year in federal, state, and local taxes. That is a lot of money. If the minimum wage goes up, so does the amount of income tax it will pay. The tax on all the service and products will go up as well. Not only are the product and service prices going to inflate, but the tax price will too. The higher tax and labor prices will encourage companies to outsource labor from other countries with lower labor costs. Employers will not just put up with losing tons of money and will find new ways of production that will work around the problem. If employers are not able to find the labor they need, they will be forced to decrease the salary of their higher paid and valued employees. That is looked at often as unacceptable. The higher paid employees have earned their salaries through the years of schooling and tuition. With this in mind, I would like to move into my next big problem. A $15 minimum wage is very close to the wage of fresh college graduates with tuition debt. The reason why students go to a college is to better themselves in a certain area and get paid for a good salary when they get employed. Fresh college graduates start at a lower wage than most average experienced employees in the field and have to earn pay raises over time. The minimum wage is close to a lot of the college graduates' starting wages and is unfair to them. The people could be high school dropouts, while the college student has spent many years in schooling only to make a little bit more. Not to mention the tens of thousands of dollars students spend on tuition every year. This standpoint is extremely unfair and once again encourages high school dropouts or not getting further educated after high school. This would catch up to employers in a few years when people are ready to retire. and there are a few college graduates to fill in the jobs. For small companies, this is a huge problem that could run them out of business. Pair it with the tax and price inflation, as well as the high labor costs, and it is a hard environment to run a small business in. Small businesses often depend on having steady sales and a well thought out budget. It is extremely important to stay in budget with a small business because there isn't much cushion for money when something goes wrong. Labor costs would ruin a ton of small businesses because they are the ones that are using the minimum wage until they experience growth. A $15 minimum wage would create an environment that is very hard to work with. There would be small businesses closing all over the place, and definitely wouldn't be many started or emerging growth. Not to mention that they would have to raise their product or service prices, driving away the much needed sales income. And this is my visual aid. So basically it is the scale factor. So it's stating that 2 out of 3 people like the minimum wage. And this person says I got a raise, this one says I got a raise, but then in return, this person said that their boss fired him to pay for the raise. So it really goes to explain that the minimum wage really affects people, not just the people that are getting the wage increase, but it affects everyone else too. After stating all those reasons why raising the minimum wage to $15 is a bad idea, I hope you can conclude to agree with me. The 3 main reasons why it is not a good idea are as follows. A higher minimum wage would drastically encourage more high school dropouts, since a living can be made from $15 per hour. Raising the minimum wage would inflate prices, tax rates, and make it difficult for employers to keep all of their employees. And lastly, a $15 minimum wage is too close to the wage of a fresh college graduate, and it's unfair for them to go through college with debt to make almost the same wage. Thank you for listening, and I hope that you consider leaving the minimum wage as is.